A new SC petition calls for a day off to go out and vote. The petition's creator hopes to get more people to the polls.
Voters across the country are casting their ballots early. A Florida voter explains why she was willing to wait in a long line.
A USC Thornton student is still writing and singing during the pandemic. The junior is the focus of our new segment, Quarantine Creatives.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Hundreds of USC students have signed a petition to cancel classes on November 3rd. I'm Amanda Ani-Offiong reporting from Los Angeles.
And I'm Lauren Hebroni, also reporting from Los Angeles. The petition creator says its purpose is to give Trojans the opportunity to participate in democracy. The petition calls on the administration to cancel all synchronous classes on November 3rd to give students a day off to vote. We talked to the petition's creator and a student who signed it.
I think a lot of people, including myself, are looking for ways to get involved and to kind of make change in the positive direction. And so I think this petition's goal is really to have, to give students, staff, and faculty at USC and across the USC community the chance to more easily be civically engaged.
So I think because of the importance of the election, this election specifically, and our duty to vote, I feel like having that day off would allow for more students to do it if there is no scheduling conflict or anything like that.
A few colleges and universities have canceled classes on November 3rd for students who wish to vote in person. These include Brown, Wesleyan, and American University, and Colorado and Vassar College. A Pomona College political professor says students should vote whether or not classes are canceled.
I do think if one is going to suspend a class for any reason, it needs to be an extraordinary reason. And I am partially persuaded by the idea that this election, because of the COVID considerations, meets that threshold of extraordinariness.
Annenberg Media contacted USC Media Relations for the school's position on Election Day classes, but no one got back to us with a comment.
Today is the last day for Californians to register online to vote by mail. The last day to register to vote in person is Election Day at a polling place or voting center. Two local nonprofits stress the importance of voting in this election.
It is really important for students to register and vote so that the electorate is reflective of the population here in California. At the polling locations, we are going to have less polling locations than we have in the past because of COVID. So registering to vote early and voting early is much more important now, given the circumstances of COVID. So yeah, please register early, make your plans to vote early to make sure that your vote is counted as soon as possible.
Forget about the reasons why folks never voted in the past. This is a very different year, right? This is a very different recovery and healing that the country needs to go through. And so so much is at stake. And again, people's livelihoods are on the line. Our vote isn't just for us, it's for our family, it's for our neighborhood, it's for our community.
To register to vote, you can visit vote.gov, indicate your state, and start your online registration. California voters have until 11:59 tonight to register online. Early voting started today for 52 of 67 counties in Florida. Thousands across the swing state waited in long lines to cast their vote, some lines starting before dawn. This is because of concerns that voting by mail is not secure, even though voters in Florida have already cast 2.5 million mail-in ballots. An early Florida voter told us why she chose to vote in person.
But there was still a good amount of people there, and it was that early in the morning, so I can only imagine how many people are there like right now, because this was hours ago. Because I prefer to do in person than the mail-in ballot, just in case, because like post offices can be kind of sketchy with how political things are in light of recent events. So it's just like, I'm going to do this in person just to be absolutely sure.
Florida is one of 26 states offering in-person early voting. Florida early voting ends on November 1st.
I'm Scorziell, reporting from Los Angeles. The 2020 presidential election has already surpassed the 2016 election in small donation fundraising. Joe Biden's campaign raised more than $200 million from online donations in September. One professor at USC thinks the pandemic might have something to do with the increase in smaller donations.
Because of the pandemic, people can't get out and be as politically active. So they're not out campaigning, they're not walking door to door. It's harder to contribute or participate in rallies or meetups with your favorite candidates. And so, if we can't give our time, the other thing we can give is resources.
Democratic candidates and groups raised $1.5 billion over the last 3 months on Act Blue, their online fundraising platform. Democrats received more than 31 million contributions from nearly 7 million donors. Each donation averaged just $47. Republicans raised more than $620 million in the same period through their online platform, Win Red. Republicans received 11.6 million contributions, and their average donation was $6 higher than the Democrats at $53. One student spoke about her political contributions during the Democratic primary process earlier this year.
So I donated to Cory Booker, Julian Castro, and Pete Buttigieg. Of course, they all ended up dropping out eventually, but it was still really cool to sort of be a part of a grassroots movement with these candidates who wouldn't have been all that popular on the bigger national stage otherwise without smaller support.
Online donations through Act Blue, the Democrats' online platform, spiked $70 million in just one day after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death in late September. I'm Scorziell. Back to you, Lauren.
The highly anticipated fall surge of COVID-19 cases has hit the US. The average rate of infection has reached a staggering 55,000 cases per day. A medical expert says adhering to CDC guidelines is essential.
What we've seen in the Southern Hemisphere is they were very good about the non-pharmaceutical interventions, like masking, staying outdoors, and they've done very well. In fact, some of their influenza rates have plummeted so impressively that I wish we could mirror that. We talked about being outdoors, we talked about masking, we talked about maintaining a physical distance, we talked about doing things virtually, and last but not the least, we should definitely get our flu vaccination.
The colder months of fall and winter, as well as flu season, will put more people at risk of getting COVID. Health experts suggest being extra cautious during this time to prevent increased transmission. Chapman University in Orange County reopened campus today for in-person classes just 1 week after a COVID-19 outbreak among students. A soccer player at Chapman is glad to be back at school.
I was excited because I play on the soccer team, so then that meant that we were also able to return to soccer. So that was super exciting. Only one of my classes so far is able to go back in person. I think if it goes well, they'll continue to stay letting us go back on campus. But obviously if things go wrong, then I'm sure they'll pull the plug.
Chapman students who want to return to in-person classes must follow safety measures. That includes completing COVID-19 training modules, taking a COVID-19 test, and a daily COVID-19 health screening. Only 35% of Chapman's undergraduate students have opted to attend in-person classes.
Several students have concerns about the spring semester. Last week, USC announced that spring break will be canceled to minimize campus virus spread as a result of travel. We spoke to a USG senator on this change.
Certainly a con of this is, not breaking up the semester, having longer stretches of time where you're all in class, not taking that week off to sort of relax and sort of revive is tough. But I think it is the best move given the circumstances. Spring break gives a lot of students the opportunity to travel. Unfortunately, our loss of downtime comes at the risk of sort of compromising student mental health, but I do think it's unfortunately the sort of best case scenario right now with everything we have going on.
Spring break is being replaced with a personal wellness day program. The goal is to protect students' health and well-being during a long stretch of classes. More information is expected soon.
Hi, I'm Carlo Jiménez reporting from Campbell, California. The Pac-12 released some new policies today, clearing up some details for the upcoming football season. 19 days before the season is set to start, the conference announced that division winners and Pac-12 championship home field advantage will be determined by which teams have the best overall winning percentage. Also, teams must have at least 53 scholarship players available in order to play, including 7 offensive linemen, 1 quarterback, and 4 defensive linemen. The Trojans are one of those teams adjusting to the new rules. SC prepared for its unusually early opening day kickoff with a Saturday morning scrimmage at the Coliseum this weekend. Head coach Clay Helton said it was great for the players to experience the game environment.
It was a great experience for our team, and we tried to create as close to what it's going to feel like on game day. I really thought Keaton had his best day of camp, looked extremely sharp, was decisive with his decisions, protected the ball.
Helton did say there is a lot to work on in the upcoming weeks as the Trojans prepare to take on Arizona State on November 7th. While USC prepares to open up Pac-12 play, the Dodgers are preparing for something a little bigger. Let's toss it to Rachel Grode in LA for all things Dodgers.
Thanks, Carlo. After a crazy comeback in the NLCS, the Dodgers are heading to the World Series. After forcing a Game 7, the Dodgers rallied to win the pennant for the 3rd time in 4 years. Kike Hernandez hit a home run to tie the game, and former MVP Cody Bellinger hit one of his own to take the lead over the Braves. Dodgers fans are looking to make the most of the World Series despite the unusual circumstances. Dodgers fan Charles Pikus is traveling to Arlington to view Game 2 in person.
And so I got to experience Game 2 of the World Series in LA. And once they won last night, I kind of looked over at my family and I'm like, hey, if we can do it, let's do it this year. I'm looking forward to just seeing my family's reaction to being at a World Series game because all 4 of us get to go this time.
Fans can also watch the World Series games at Dodger Stadium with drive-in viewing parties hosted by the team. Dodgers fan Jasmine Perez went to the drive-in for Game 3 of the NLCS and said she would go again.
Overall, I really enjoyed my experience. It was just nice to be at the stadium. Everyone was super hyped and energetic, and we were all feeding off of each other's energy, like honking our horns and whatnot.
The Dodgers will begin Game 1 of the World Series tomorrow night behind pitcher Clayton Kershaw. Now let's send it back to news.
We're starting a new segment on Mondays featuring USC artists and performers who are figuring out how to be creative during COVID. This week, a Thornton music student shares her quarantine creativity. The popular music program student has been adapting her performances to an online venue. She's been promoting her music on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, but her process has changed.
All transitioned to us being on video calls and sharing our screens, which is very cool, but you don't get the same energy as you would if you were in a room with somebody else creating music. A lot of the material that I've been writing recently has been not I would say mental health related, but it is talking about my life and things that I've been going through. My advice to anybody who wants to start creating music during the pandemic, like this is the best time to do it. There's a lot of material coming out, but that doesn't mean that there isn't space for you to create music. Everybody has a voice, especially in social media right now, and putting your music out. A lot of people are getting traction and getting heard just by doing that, not having a label, not having anything, and just doing it for fun.
Even though the pandemic has left Dion singing in her room, she says she's hoping to release her latest music next month.
A new Instagram account is bringing USC students together during our time apart. The account USC Misconnections allows Trojans to connect outside of Zoom lectures and the chat feature. If you have a message for a fellow Trojan, you can DM the account and they will anonymously post your message on their page. A fan of the account says it helps her cope with school stress.
I think it's just a really great way for people to be reminded of like human connection and also the more like frivolous parts of life, because at least in my classes, like we're talking about a lot of really heavy material, and the outside world is obviously like super heavy. And I know a lot of people are dealing with like mental health issues and just like struggling with Zoom school and stuff. So I think this is just kind of like a nice, fun way to not take ourselves so seriously and like remember at the end of the day, we're still like college age kids.
Honestly, I have a couple Trojans in mind that I like to send a letter to.
You know what, Lauren? It actually reminds me of Gossip Girl. I wonder who's running the Instagram account.
Oh my God, it totally does. Me too. Well, that wraps it up for us on this Monday. Thanks for tuning in.
From all of us at Annenberg Media, have a good night.